welcome to Bow and Arrow Tarot. Tonight we're going to get right into the January love reading for the sign of Cancer. Water signs are now up. And this is just going to be a full Celtic spread reading for your area and love, right? It's only one outlook, so it may or may not resonate with you, and that's fine. If it doesn't apply to you, just let it go. So let's get right into it. I've already been shuffling the cards quite some time before I started filming, so we are ready to go. All right, Cancer, you start off with Queen of Pentacles again. There she is. People who are cross-watching will have seen her all over the videos, at least my videos. Two of Swords. And Eight of Pentacles again showing up. This card has also been all over the love readings for this month and a lot of the weeklies. Seven of Wands, Judgment. Six of Swords. Page of Wands. Ace of Swords. Another Page. And the Knight of Swords. All right. Let's see. All right. You can see all of the cards. I'd like it to be all like straight. All right, guys. So... wow. Bottom of the deck, you have Eight of Wands. So this has been coming out a lot too lately, the Eight of Wands. So it's a lot of boundaries right now. Everybody's establishing boundaries with people. Enforcing their boundaries with people right now. Right? 8 is the number for strength and boundaries. And with Eight of Wands, we see like people just everybody giving you their 2 cents. This is also the card for going viral. But that would be in a different scenario. If we were reading for your career and this came in, this could indicate, you know, suddenly like getting quite famous. But in a love reading, it just indicates people just constantly overstepping their bounds with you, sort of, you know, and really testing your strength, right? And testing your resolve. So interestingly enough, a lot of the love readings this month have had the Queen of Pentacles come out. And here she is for you in the center of your reading, Cancer. So everybody this month, including you, are really putting a lot of their energy and time and a lot of their emotions into their career. And I keep saying this, that for my collective, because the Queen of Pentacles has shown up for almost every single reading now in some capacity, it just seems that my collective, everyone is kind of working on their coin. You know, everybody's kind of working on their businesses, they're working on their career. If they're artists, they're working in their art. Everybody's putting their sort of all of their heart and soul into their business right now. And that's what the Queen is all about, because queens always represent water. And so here you have the emotional side of running a business and a career, you know. You have like really feeling passionate about it. And really putting a lot of care into it. You know, you can see she's kind of holding the pentacle like it's her baby. These are people who like treat their businesses like their babies, you know. They love what they do. And whatever the capacity is, this is somehow affecting your love life this month. It could be that, you know, right now you just don't have any time. It's interesting, though, you covered with the Two of Swords. And Two of Swords feels like an impossible decision. So you don't have any cup cards anywhere. And it just seems like this month for you, this must be a reading for a Cancer that is just not interested. You know what I mean? It's just like you're not interested this month in sort of engaging in any kind of deep emotional thing right now. You're really kind of trying to clear your head up. Two of Swords talks about an impossible decision. And when you're in a situation where you can't choose between two options, the best thing is to find balance. And so ultimately this card talks about balance, finding a balance for yourself rather than sort of going to either extreme. And I think that that's something you're kind of wrestling with right now with regard to a love life or a love connection. You know, it seems like perhaps this is a reading for a Cancer who's already kind of been through some things, right? Right now, you're just really working on your career. It doesn't really even indicate whether you are with somebody and just not sort of emotionally with them right now, or whether you're single. You could be, you know, I feel more like this is for a single Cancer, but it could be for someone who's involved, but your emotional side is very much cut off from the relationship, and you almost feel like you're living your own life even though you're with somebody. Sometimes that can happen in a long-term marriage if you just like, you're still married, but you've really sort of pulled your sort of character, your feelings and everything away. And so for all intents and purposes, it doesn't even feel like you're married. It feels like you're a single person in a marriage, you know. And I'm not talking about people like who are cheating, because there doesn't seem to be any sort of negative energy here. But I'm just saying this could be possibly for like for you if you were in that kind of relationship. But for the most part right now, you're really thinking about balance. You have 8 of Pentacles and 7 of Wands. So you're feeling a lot like you're really putting a lot of work into your business. 8, another 8, you know, 8 of Wands. Eights have been around a lot, and 8 is the number for strength. And again, like I said before, it's the number for enforcing boundaries. When we set boundaries with ourselves, when we restrict our behavior to remain focused at the task, which you can see this handcrafter is doing, you know, this results in sort of discipline. So this is my card for discipline. It's also the card for prudence, being prudent about what you do so that you can accomplish your task, right? So saving perhaps, you know, not spending a lot of money, working harder, and sort of just stacking your coin. In the back of your mind, you feel like you're having to go through a lot of struggle, right? You feel like you're really always having to come up with solutions. And I think that could be a reason why right now you're not interested in a relationship, because you have, I don't know, it feels almost like perhaps when you do get into relationships, for some reason, they affect your work, and you feel like you're constantly having to battle, right, to maintain your job or your career, which is something that you really love to do, but also the relationship. And then it gives you this kind of 2 of Swords feeling, this like impossible decision, you know. And I think you're perhaps wrestling with that, you know. It's interesting. This could be for a Cancer who actually has one of these type of careers that, you know, it's difficult for somebody to be your lover, right? Whatever it is you do for a living, it's something you need to pay a lot of attention to. It's something that you have to put a lot of your emotions into. And it can be very difficult to sort of, I want to say, balance a love connection, because the person you're with is going to be, you know, kind of drawing on your energy or wanting to draw on your energy, and you don't have all that much to give because your career really takes up the center of your heart. And so I think this is kind of that impossible decision that you're kind of faced with right now. But again, it is about finding balance, right? And so we get back to 8 of Wands over here. This could very well be a feeling of really getting a lot of mixed emotions. You may have a lot of different sort of, if you are single, perhaps if you're you have a little bit of notoriety, or if you have a little bit of money, you know, and puts you in a spotlight or something like that, this could also be the feeling of having a lot of different people wanting your attention, right? And in any case, in the back of your mind, it feels like a struggle for you, because here with 7 of Wands, this is the card for valor, right? It is the card for being really brave. But in this scenario, when we're talking about a love reading, it's like having to fight everybody off, you know. You know, they say like having to fight them off with a shitty stick. That's an old expression, you know. It's like too many people want a bit of you, you know. And it could be feeling for some of you a little bit like that. Or certainly in some area in your life, you're feeling like you're always having to come up with, you know, some kind of solution to a problem. And I don't think you feel like it's coming from you, but it feels very much like, you know, it's you against the world. So you've come into this month with Judgment, and you've rounded out with a 6 of Swords. So that's a real feeling of sort of, Judgment is a card for kind of reconciliation and forgiveness. It's also for kind of understanding yourself a little bit. You're starting to have a little bit more experiences in life that are beginning to get you to sort of relax some of your hypercriticism, right? And so when Judgment comes in, it's like we're able to see various scenarios in our lives or different things that have happened to us. We're beginning to be able to see them from a lot of different points of view than just our own, you know. So our understanding is increasing. So in this way, it can mean that you may be healing from a past time this month, right? A past event or a past like heartbreak. You may be healing from some guilt that maybe you've taken on because of relationships that have fallen apart. Maybe you feel guilty for them. You know, this is all about sort of forgiveness, and it's forgiveness for you first, and then you also begin to sort of increase your empathy, and, you know, you begin to sort of forgive others as well, because you're starting to have enough life experience now that you realize not everything is so black and white. You know, you're not being so judgmental of yourself. You're not being so judgmental of others, right? And so it feels like that's the kind of energy you're coming into this month with. So there's definitely some understanding happening there, Cancer, for you. that's going to help you sort of maybe find this balance in a relationship. You come out the month with just like a decision to have like a harmonious sort of vibe around you, right? Six of Swords is all about sort of making an intentional decision to start hanging out and being around people that are more like you, to surround yourself with like-minded people so that you can have harmonious relationships, to stop having the kind of friendships and love connections and relationships with people that are always filled with angst, you know, that are always aggressive or always filled with sort of like some horrible negative energy, to just start to seek out a higher level of engagement with people. And you start to decide to do that. And I think that that's probably going to help, because perhaps you have been having, you know, some difficulty surrounding yourself with people who are kind of on your level. This feels really strongly to me for a Cancer that's quite famous in some way, or even if they're not like an artist, even they could be famous in their field, you know, even if they're like a financial person, they'll be like well known in the financial world, or if they're an architect, they'll be very well known in that architectural world. It's not necessarily just what we consider your typical famous person, but somebody who's well known for what they do, you know, whatever that craft is, and this is how they make their money. Right. And it's a craft that just requires a lot of their attention, and they love to do it. It is always in the front of your mind with this Eight of Pentacles. So when I have this strong feeling about this, it's difficult for you to have relationships, because I think you're figuring out this month just to start having, to start like raising your engagement with all people in your life, not just a love connection, but to begin to surround yourself with people who are more like what you aspire to be, you know, people who are, you know, more even, more emotionally stable, more healthy, more positive, more encouraging, less envious, less jealous, less argumentative. You know what I mean? Just a higher, better level, a harmonious level, you know, because 6 is the number for harmony. Your attitude towards love this month is a Page of Wands, and you get an Ace of Swords. So you're kind of like being really idealistic this month. I think you're kind of having a breakthrough mentally with how you, again, with this decision, 6 of Swords, and this kind of release of the guilt is kind of what's really spurring all of this on, this judgment. This kind of finally like letting go of your own sort of guilt about certain things and forgiving yourself, I guess. You have this Ace of Swords coming in. So you're feeling really idealistic this month. And it feels really nice, because it feels like you realize that you've grown up a bit. Maybe you've matured a bit. You've come out with like a lot of clarity about how you want to live your life. And it feels good. And it's taking on a very passionate aspect to you. You know, it's like somebody who suddenly changes how they do business. You know, maybe before you were doing business and it just wasn't, you know, a level that was right for you, you know, and a highly aspired level, you know, for you. And now you found yourself much clear-headed. You found yourself surrounding yourself with the right kind of people. And so now you're having this kind of feedback loop almost, where you're really getting, you know, these bursts of inspiration. That's what Ace of Swords is. It's like a burst of inspiration that comes in, you know, it's being really logical and clear-headed. It can be suddenly coming up with, you know, really incredible solutions to problems that have vexed you for quite some time. But with this Page of Wands, you kind of like have this real idealistic view about it. And so if we're thinking about a love connection, it's almost as if you've decided the type of love connection you want now. And you've decided to be quite idealistic about it, because you know, in a lot of ways, by going through all of this, it's almost as if you've kind of figured something out so that you are able to eventually find this balance. So you can be with somebody, have a love connection, right? And still have your career. You know, it's like a solution has come in for you. And this solution is how to find this balance. And it all involves finding the right person. I think up until now, you may not have, again, like I said, surrounded yourself with the type of people. And so everything was perhaps not working out. It was always a lot of strife, you know, a lot of sort of battling, right? And now that you've chosen to be more proactive about being around harmonious people and people that, you know, you have the same sort of moral codes with, and more same sort of ideas about life, you know, you find that you realize it's going to be a lot easier to sort of be passionate about love again. You know, it's almost giving you a sense of enthusiasm again and sort of optimism about love. And this is what you're coming in with this Page of Wands. Page of Pentacles are your hopes and dreams, and you round out the month with a Knight of Swords. So once again, there's no, like I said before, there's no cup cards, and yet this is a love reading. And this is why I say this is very much about you kind of getting your head together about the type of life you want to have and the type of people you want to have around you. It's a real sense of, you know, transcending your ego and transcending your environment a little bit and just resonating it up a little bit because of the experiences that you had and this forgiveness you've given yourself. So the Knight of Swords comes out at the top, and the Page of Pentacles are your hopes and dreams. Sometimes it can be your fears as well. It's interesting that that position can really contain both. And so that shows the flip side of anything that we want in life. Some we want it, but we fear it in other ways. And Page of Pentacles is just really about being practical about your business, right? And so you're hoping to remain very practical about sort of, you know, your business and your abundance, right? And, you know, maintaining your stability, right? It also comes in terms of there's solutions that come in. And it could be that you've been sort of trying to figure out solutions to how you can have a career and have a love connection as well. Even if that's like figuring out, you know, I don't know, documents or sort of like understanding of who owns what, or protecting certain parts because you have responsibilities to other people, or whatever the case may be. This is just like, it is a healthy, practical way of solving any kind of like issues that you may be having that are relating to your business. And again, this must be a fear of yours as well. And it could be a reason that it, you know, some of the relationships haven't felt right because they've in some way or another maybe felt like somehow they would have threatened your business in some way. You know, there's a fear, you know, since this is a position of fear also, it could indicate like not having everything in place so that you're safeguarded, right? And so you're trying to find solutions. It's interesting that Page of Pentacles will come up in a love reading in terms of your ultimate wish, you know, for yourself. How it turns out is Knight of Swords energy. And so Knight of Swords is very much about now getting rid of any obstacles that are in your way, you know. And so you're being very, now that you've kind of made this decision in a way to have a certain type of way of life now, almost turning your back and sort of like a lot of the negativity that you've kind of put up with and deciding to make sure you're only dealing with positivity, this Ace of Swords, all of that coming in. By the end of the month, you're really ready to sort of get rid of any obstacles that may be in the way of this new life for you. And the Knight of Swords is very proactive about that. So that could be even just like firing certain people and hiring new people, like cleaning a house, or, you know what I mean? If you have whatever business you have, or just changing things around, or whatever the case may be. It's like getting rid of any real obstacles in the terms of, I'm going to say anything that is negative, you know, any negative connections, communications, or, you know, anything that impedes this progress of this kind of new journey for you. And all of this sort of impacts your love life, because up until now, I think this needed to happen in order for you to have a healthy love life coming in. So let me just pull a few clarifying cards, and then we will call this a reading. I'm just going to clarify your focus cards and your timing cards. Quite an interesting reading for a Cancer who's really like had to always think about their relationships, could never relax long enough to actually feel a relationship because of all of the responsibilities and having to protect yourself all the time. All right. Yeah, Five of Swords, that's... and the Princess of Swords, more swords, Queen of Wands, and your Seven of Pentacles. Wow, failure. Bottom of the deck of Two of Wands. So you really are raring to go this month. You're kind of really trying to move forward with a new sort of passion of yours, right? And so, yeah, you're kind of changing your whole environment, changing your whole outlook to follow this passion. Five of Swords is what I was talking about earlier, and that was kind of like strife and worry Five of Swords is just giving up because you've been fighting with somebody who hasn't been playing fairly, and it's just realizing that you have to sometimes you have to accept defeat and take the high road, or else you just keep battling with someone, and eventually you're just lowering yourself to their level. You know, when you're dealing with people who are really toxic or negative, right, and you're just battling with them, it just, brings you down. So you just decide to throw your hands up and just admit defeat. This is what I was saying earlier about the Six of Swords. That's the Five of Swords. And the Six of Swords is a decision we make to finally turn our back on this kind of stuff. This is exactly what I meant. So that's the progression. It's like you've had enough. You raise your hands. And not only do you say it's enough arguing with these type of people, or else I'm just going to keep lowering myself and being unhappy. You decide to absolutely turn your back and move away. So Six of Swords, this card can sometimes indicate moving, actually physically moving, or actually physically changing everything around you in terms of your environment, right? That can include people that you're around or working conditions, right? And I'll get back to the clarifier for that card. In the back of your mind, again, you have another fighter. So it's like Seven of Wands is fighting constantly, having to come up with creative solutions. And the Princess of Swords is always sort of fighting against, self-doubt, negativity, and feeling like you can't do it. So there's some self-esteem issues perhaps here that you've been having to battle with. It could be that other people have been telling you couldn't do it. And for a long time, you feel like you were kind of on your own. And this has a lot to do with your trust levels perhaps in a relationship. And again, that feeling of if I don't surround myself with the type of people I have to constantly battle against, then I can be in a harmonious life, and I think that's an understanding that's coming in. Like, we only find ourselves constantly having to battle like this when we surround ourselves with the type of people who aren't good for us, When you find harmonious people, and this again comes back, which is probably one of the most important cards of this reading, is the Six of Swords, because that's where you end your month off, and that's your understanding. But when you surround yourself with people who are harmonious, or who at least, want for you what you want for them, then you don't always have to constantly be on edge trying to refill your self-esteem, because they're not preying on you. Judgment and Queen of Wands. So somebody has probably come in to help you with this. It could be that there was because the Queen of Wands is really strong, Cancer, and this is a person in your life who's probably really wise, maybe a little bit older than you, who's been through what you've been through, or who has some kind of connection to you. They may have a connection to you that's personal, or they may have a business connection, but they're definitely someone who can help you sort of understand, right? And they have a connection to you, and it's something about them having come into you, which has started this whole really rapid understanding that's come in for you. It's like so much understanding all of a sudden comes in, right? It's like you figure out so much stuff, especially with the Ace of Swords and this, thinking about what the next step is. And Judgment is a strong card, and it's a reconciliation. So maybe they're a family member, or maybe they're an old friend of yours, or they're just somebody who just is imparting some wisdom to you, or imparting an experience with you, or you're having an experience with them, and they're helping you to realize something. And this is very much kind of what leads this whole month off. Could have happened already because this reading is late in the month. I'm doing it late in the month, January 8th. Now, Six of Swords is covered with Seven of Pentacles, which is a feeling of failure, or wanting to, feeling like you've worked really hard for something and it just didn't bear the right fruit for you, right? And sometimes that can be a feeling of failure, but it's also just understanding that sometimes you have to just, reevaluate where you're at in life, and if what you've been working for, if you've been working very hard for it's like tending a garden, right? You tend the garden every day, and then it starts to bear fruit, and if the fruit it's bearing is not what you had intended in the end, or didn't turn out the way you wanted, then you have to sort of figure out, are you going to keep working at it, or are you going to maybe change it, so it feels like again an understanding coming in that kind of spurs you to move on, right? It could be that you did work very hard in a lot of ways for your career, but there was something about it that you found out was dissatisfying, or if there were people around you that you found were dissatisfying. It feels a lot like, interrelations with people because you have so many swords cards, you know. And cup cards will be much more sort of the heart, but this just seems much more with, in terms of like, being around people that just didn't agree with your thinking. You're just always at odds with them, you know. And this is all has impacted sort of your ability to, you know, have the kind of relationship that you want to have, where you can actually be emotional about it, you know. This is your reading, Cancer. I hope you enjoyed it. This is for January 2020. It's your love outlook. Again, it's a specific reading for a very specific situation. And of course, not all of you are going to resonate with it. But if there's any portion of it that resonates with you, I am pleased. So for right now, check out your other readings, which should be linked in the description. Don't forget to hit the bell if you like the video, so you can be notified for the other videos, because I always premiere my videos. And for right now, Cancer, have a wonderful, wonderful month. And don't forget to check me out in the middle of the month for the mid-month love check-in. Bye-bye now.